Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Bit of a switch around. We hope that worked as well as we anticipated. I'm not too sure. Give me a bit of feedback.
Bit of impromptu comedy, yeah.
No, why not? Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Get in there. Episode 126. Unbelievably. Tonight, of course, you're joined by Nathan Baxter. Good evening, Nathan. Sorry, Chris. Good evening, Chris.
You're right.
Sound as a pound. Ange as well. How are you, Ange?
I am rough.
Delightful. Not for the first time. And Dan, how are you?
Yeah, great, mate. Thank you. Looking forward to tonight. Always good to speak after a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 3-point pod, can't beat them. And a 4-man pod, or a 4-man and a 3-man and a lady pod, shall we say? For the first
Stick
time
with the man, yeah. I'm not offended.
Comfortable with that, Ange?
Don't offend me.
No, of course, but it's good to have a full panel for the first time in a while. I think it's been. Would you agree with that, Chris? It's been a few weeks.
I would, yeah. It's. I think it's justified after yesterday, personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening to everybody in the chat. Lovely to have you all with us, of course, the channel members especially. Pete, Jordan, David, Brandon, all of you, Laura, wonderful to have you all here, and everybody else in between as well. You're all very welcome, and your contribution, of course, is very much appreciated. Please continue to get your comments and chats into the live chat, should I say. My trusted assistant tonight will be Dan, who I think is controlling the chat as we speak. And please continue to do so, Dan, and bring everyone's comments to view. And of course, we'll address them accordingly. But of course, yesterday, Wanderers managed to, come out victorious in a 7-goal thriller in the one half. I'm having a pint of Stella as we speak, so I'm all right. But I'm doing things. Yeah, exactly. Let's crack on with the post-match reactions before I mess anything else up. So as I attempted to put my teeth back in, what I was trying to say is Wanderers won 4-3 yesterday, came out on top of a 7-goal in the second half game against Crawley Town, unbelievably. Ange, we'll start with you, ladies first and all that. Is that a turning point for the season? Give me your thoughts.
Yes, it is.
Whoa.
I mean, I think some people are maybe expecting us to be a completely different team from what we have been. And it's certainly going to take some time, let's just say, until they adapt to be a shoey team. So I think people, a little bit of patience, but what you absolutely did see was great determination. They wanted to win it. They absolutely did not stop. The change in formation during the game, something that we were all like, look, hey up, what's going on here? Sorry, my voice is going for it. I don't know if it was half me screaming, and then obviously I was out last night, so a little bit of rough voice going on. Previously, I think under a different regime, we wouldn't have gone on to win that. And I think with us, the crowd, we were so behind them. I think we definitely kind of lifted them and helped them get that 4th goal. I mean, they absolutely deserved it, because what on earth are Crawley Town? That performance, the blatant cheating, time wasting, plus 12. I was like, actually, for once, the ref got it right, or the fourth official got it right with the plus 12, because they absolutely took the mick. But yeah, so for me, this is the start now of the Shuey era. That he's got his first 3 points at home. We've got an away match at Wrexham, which is another chance for people to shine on Tuesday before we're back to it on. They're coming thick and fast, and I think he's got to get to know those players really well, really quickly. Yeah, brilliant midfield. Georgie T, how does he get back in that side? Anyway, that's for another day.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, one of the noticeable things yesterday, prior to the game, we managed to somehow communicate this with one another across the North Stand Upper, but was a switch in dugouts. Are we putting any of the victory yesterday down to that, or is it purely coincidence that Shuey sprinkled a bit of magic dust on yesterday's performance, certainly the second half anyway?
Well, we'll take whatever we can to justify the result yesterday. I mean, for him to change formation and shape more in 45 minutes than Ian Evatt did in 4.5 years speaks volumes in itself. And we're dealing with a different level of coach, different level of manager or head coach, as he's referred to. Obviously, the guys he's got alongside him, Mark Hughes and the other lad from Luton, clearly are. It's going to take time, as Angela says, to embed everything that they want and how they want us to play. Obviously, completely different formation, different positions, completely for Sean and Tutu on the opposite sides and further up the flanks. 4 at the back, which I did agree with Keith Hill on the radio last night. I don't think that benefits Will Forrester as much as 3 at the back. Right. But again, it's going to take time to adapt. But equally, to go 3-1 down, I think as Chris Burton said there, under Evatt, he'd have been stood there with his hands on his hips, wondering what to do. And we'd have just probably made 1 or 2 changes, the usual change like for like, but to change the system and also just after the second goal to maintain the 4 subs that he'd stuck with, took guts. And it paid off. And again, later on in the game to take Forrester off and bring Matete on to change it even further. And he said in his post-match that they will constantly go after victories and be positive and be on the front foot. And you know what? Fair play to him. On another day, we probably would have been delighted with the point, having come back from 3-1 down. And testament to Crawley. I know they were awful at their time wasting, but all 3 goals were taken well. And I think we said at half-time, didn't we, Cole, that the word was for us was disjointed. We were very disjointed first half. And second half, we were quite weak. I'm still not convinced that midfield, although they're very good going forward, I don't think we've got that bite, that grit that we need. We certainly missed Georgie T from that angle because they seem to just skip through for their goals. But, and special mention to Geth, he's had some pelters, whether his ability's there or whatever, he's questionable. And wherever he ends up at the end of the season or whatever he's done for us, we cannot doubt he's been an astute pro. And to get onto the end of that and have that moment, I think there's nobody better that's deserved it over the last 4.5, 5 years, especially with everything that's gone on in his personal life as well. So it was the icing on the cake. So hopefully, the turning point, as you say, and we go on now a bit of a run and cement that playoff spot.
Yeah, lovely touch, I guess, to get that winner yesterday. Fully deserved. We, of course, have 2 Bens on the podcast, the panel, Mr. Timberlake, and of course, a certain Ben travelling Southeast Asia at present. Believe it or not, he managed to actually watch the Super Whites yesterday, and he's chipped in with his contribution.
But yeah, yesterday it was mental. As I said, first half, nothing much happened really. We were walking around trying to find somewhere to put Bolton Crawley on, but obviously, unsurprisingly, no one wants to go back to the hotel watching our phones. And first half not much. Half time, no idea what happened. They came out. Just got 3 pretty good goals from their point of view, 3 pretty poor goals from our point of view. Gaping holes in defence, which not really surprised. It's been happening all season, especially at home. But I don't think that's kind of what Schumacher's here to do. Plymouth went up, scored a load of goals. I think they had a look before, they conceded the most goals from a promoted team from the top 2 in League One in about 10 years. So I wouldn't expect them to come in and show up our defence. I think they're going to go all out attack basically. That's kind of what we saw yesterday. It was great to see 3-1 down. the kind of character we showed to get back into it. Did a couple of times already this season, but I mean, I'm not sure we've come down from 2 goals down to win a game like that for a long time. Probably Mansfield away back in the League 2 season. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be exciting. We're without some big players yesterday. Obviously, Santos, Collins is a big one as well. He scored basically all our goals the last couple of months. So to score 4 without him, good for Alex Murphy to get on the score sheet. Good for I'll say Tutu as well, who looked really good as our best player by a mile last second half. It's a new formation. I think we played about 2-3 of the formation yesterday. It started off with a kind of 4-2-3, 4-4-1-1 kind of back 4, which is nice to see. I thought Dickers covered it really well. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, obviously really happy with it. It's kind of fairly nailed on as soon as ever when the Schumacher was going to get a job. So, I mean, there's some bad names banded about from Robbie Fowler to God knows who. But I think we all kind of knew it was going to be Schumacher. So, happy. We'll see how it goes. It's going to be interesting into the season.
Greatly appreciate the contribution, of course, by Ben. Yeah, obviously, sometime. Yeah, it's always good to get the thoughts and opinions from wanderers far afield. Somebody who wasn't far afield was Chris yesterday, or Nathan Baxter. Chris, of course, you went to the game yesterday. Interesting take from Ben over the amount of goals that Plymouth conceded in their promotion campaign. Little bit of a concern that, given the fact that although the 3 goals that Crawley scored were decent, there were a few defensive lapses, weren't there, that was pretty prominent yesterday. What are your thoughts on the overall game, Chris?
Well, just on that, we've already said it's going to take time. We obviously consider the formation that we've been playing in for 4 years, and to change it. I know we've played it from time to time, but very, very infrequently. It's going to take a lot of adjustment, especially from players who've been out injured for a long period of time. I think Chris mentioned it earlier. We were talking about it on the way out, how Schumacher recognised it, and as opposed to hooking Tolley, he brought Jono on. Just gave him that little additional support, which seemed to work a treat. I just don't want to talk about stats, and I found myself being pretty ignorant to what came up on the massive scoreboards in the corners yesterday in terms of shots on target, possession, whatever. I just saw a team who were playing for a manager yesterday. And for me, it was a moment of reality and sort of realisation that we've been missing it for so long, that just seeing the team go out there and put everything into it as they did makes a massive difference. And I'm not bothered about, the way that we play and how it replicates what Man City do, or playing through the lines, or playing with inverted wing backs, or doing this. I don't really care. If I see a team of mine go out there and play for the shirt like that, I can say that every week, regardless of the result. And every one of them deserved that yesterday. They were phenomenal. They really were. So, yeah, just pleasing. It was just nice to celebrate goals with enthusiasm and passion, and just, it's feeling something for a change. That for me was the biggest takeaway yesterday.
Yeah. On that though, I must admit, we had a few occasions this season where we've turned around, unfortunate situations, and we've clearly got it in them, haven't they, to deliver like that, and manage to turn results around when things aren't quite going as according to plan. But no, it was good to see, weren't it? The endeavour to, you kind of knew, didn't you? Once we got that equaliser, made it 3-3.
Oh, exactly.
Go on and win it.
Yeah, there was only one team that was going to win that game yesterday. You could feel it. Even at 3-1, I said to Sam, I said, we're still going to win this. We're still going to win it. And to be fair, he agreed with it as well. You just felt it. It was all set up. A lot of people mentioned that the first half was really segmented, and it was all over the place. But there were glimpses of things that were different. Obviously, the formation, but also the way that we played. You could see something was changing, and it will take time. It was only little things, but no, all in all, belted.
Just
For those who wonder, sorry, go on, Dan.
Sorry, just one observation. 4 years ago, pretty much to the day, give or take a week, we were down in the dumps, shall we say, down in League Two. And a Bolton hero that signed for Southport yesterday, Colin. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but yesterday because he signed for Southport. But it was the comeback against Mansfield, which I know Ben made reference to, where we were down and out, and Ganua scored in added time to spin not only that game but the season on its head. So, does lightning strike twice?
Is that almost to the day, give or take?
17th of February 2021. So give or take a week. And he was in the headlines yesterday because he signed for Southport, did Ganua. So
King Arthur.
King Arthur.
King Arthur, indeed. We've seen a few comments in the live chat. Of course, please continue to post them. Obviously, we've got the fan focus later on in the episode, which will, I'm sure, address them and possibly others as well from social media. But of course, yesterday was a bit of a standout in many respects for a couple of players. So I'm sure we've got a man of the match to discuss. What do you reckon?
Hopefully my internet holds out well enough. I'm sorry that my internet is currently running through a potato or something. But let's try and get through man of the match, people. Stick your votes in the chat as we go around the panel and see who we crown this week's man, not person, of the match.
By the way, it'll never be person, will it, Angie? It'll never be person, will it? It'll always be man.
No. Man of the match. Shall we start with you, Dan? Let's go with you, Dan, first.
Difficult one, isn't it? Having had a number of months where we've struggled to pick one. We've struggled to pick one again yesterday, but for the right reasons. I thought Morley, Sheehan, superb. Sheehan, unplayable at times. Murphy, although he looked like a duck out of water first half, really grew into the game second half. But there's only one winner for me. I mean, he just looks like the player that we went out to sign. I know he's had his injury troubles, and the only reason he's with Bolton Wanderers, let's get this right, is because of that injury record. Had he not be injury prone, he would be nowhere near League One level. Just looked like, I think I saw it yesterday. Someone referred to him as prime Neymar, and I think I can kind of agree with it. He absolutely made that Feely look stupid, and he came off the bench and.
Yeah, Neymar.
So get it carried away.
So absolutely, well, but yeah, he absolutely turned that Feely inside out, didn't he? Twice. So for me, Desmond Tutu.
Fabulous. Chris, who are you going with?
Yeah, again, it's tough. I think you could pick 3 or 4. Somebody in the chat mentioned the gaffer for switching it up as he did and for basically turning the game around. Whatever. Yeah, he was phenomenal. He did a great job yesterday. But yeah, I have to say Josh Sheehan was unbelievable. The desire to score his goal. Obviously, he'd been clattered all game. I imagine he's gone through a lot of massage and recovery today. So I better not mention that too much, just in case Timberlake's listening. But yeah, Josh Sheehan, he just put everything on the line for me, and he was superb. So yeah, Josh Sheehan.
Beautiful vote for Chris there. And Colin, who are you going with?
Often over the last few years, it's been an absolute disaster watching some of the footballers that we've had at our club. Yes, obviously, a certain generation of us are used to better footballers to watch and enjoy. And this, maybe the last 5-6 years, not many of them have kind of cut the mustard in terms of my level of expectations for this football club. But Jordi Osei-Tutu is falling into a category that I would consider what most fans say a proper footballer. He's got that touch, that awareness, that pace. He can go both sides. He's direct. He's got everything you need to be a top footballer at maybe not the highest level, but certainly top end championship. And it's really, really enjoyable to watch him play football for us. Hopefully he stays fit. This is my long way of going about saying that Jordi Osei-Tutu was my man of the match yesterday.
Yes, going round the houses, never Colin.
Yeah. I just like to build things up, don't I? You know me.
Yeah, so no, and that's why we're here. I think everyone in the chat is kind of in agreement. It's a she and Tutu. Bit lofty thrown in. Ref for 12 minutes. The gaffer. So player-wise, I think people are on the same page as us. And it is such a close call between these two. But I think purely for the fact he jumped about 15 feet in the air for his goal, I'm going to go with Jordi Osei-Tutu.
Wonderful.
Please, man of the match. I'll let HR know.
Yeah, do that. And speaking of HR, he put a post out yesterday that I didn't know what it meant about the beanstalk. Yeah, I don't get it. Can you explain it to me?
I think he'd been taking some mind-altering drugs on a Saturday night and just came up with something.
Which post?
A bit random.
It was the Jordi and the beanstalk, wasn't it?
I didn't get it.
Is it because he climbed for the header? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what was on in that header, Timberlake's? If he's not thinking about food, he's thinking about beanstalks. So.
Yeah, I just thought somebody would have had an explanation for me, whether I was being a bit daft and a bit thick, not understanding what
No, it was a bit of a tenuous link, but there you go.
Yeah,
excuse me.
No, of course. So let's look forward to our game against Shrewsbury. Of course, we're not going to be previewing the Wrexham game because we don't do the Pizza Car Trophy, as you all know. But let's get started on.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Get Stats On with the Statman. Of course, this segment is indeed sponsored by Jenna Louise Salmon, and you know the line by now. If you're buying a gaff, give her a bell. Of course it is a little bit more complicated, as I say every time, but I'm sure it is, and I know absolutely niche about houses. So let's just talk about the footy. Now, your next league game is against Shrewsbury Town on the weekend, and their manager is now Gareth Ainsworth. Yeah, that is him. I don't know why I was going to question myself then. I've literally got it right in front of me. No, that is him, and of course he was Wickham manager for absolutely ages, and but now he's at Shrewsbury, and to be honest, he's doing all right considering how awful they were before he took over in November. He plays a back five. Usually it's three in midfield, one slightly more advanced than two up front. And since he's took over Shrewsbury, they have 1.3 points per game, and he has a 36% win rate. Won 5, lost 6, drawn 3. So it's not bad. But 3 of those wins, three of the wins have come in the last 5 games, including a win against Wrexham. And every game he won was 2-1. And every game they lost in that 5 was 1-0. So they're all right, despite the league table, which is they are 22nd, 1 place above Crawley. I think the less said about them, the better after the last game. It was a cracking watch, though. Of course, I did not watch it because I would never illegally stream anything. But anyway, cracking game. One key thing about Shrewsbury as well is they are much, much better at home, which isn't ideal. Actually, I can't remember if it's a home or away game. My apologies. I was poor from a stat man. I think it's a home game for you. No, I can't. I don't know. Either way, they're a lot better at home than they are away from home because they've got 17 points at home and only 9 away. So that's not great. But they've scored 30 goals all season. That's not great either, is it? Let's be honest. And they're dead last for touches in the opposition box in the league. So they're going to hit you on the counter, basically, if they're going to score. And to be honest, I think they will because they look a lot better than they seem. And talking about counter attacks, I'm going to do a little bit of self-promo here. I am going to do an article on what went wrong in the Crawley game. And to be honest, it was basically all counter attacks as soon as you lost the ball. The importance of transition is something like that anyway. And hopefully it'll be quite a good read. So we'll call the self-promo done for now, but check out my socials for that coming fairly soon. Back to Shrewsbury. They're dead last for possession as well, so it'll be quite a different game to Crawley, you would imagine. But yeah, they are just going to park the bus by the looks of it, to be honest. They've made the most tackles in the league, and they're quite high up for interceptions as well. But I think that's more just because of how much they defend than anything else, to be honest. So you can't really read too much into that, I don't think. The keeper doesn't make that many saves either. He's like mid-table for saves per game, which is a bit odd for how many shots they will face. But to be fair, he did make an absolutely cracking save in the Rotherham game. And that's definitely worth a look as well if you've not seen it already. Absolutely blinding save. But anyway, yeah, you should score a few. Let's not take the piss. But anyway, they concede 1.7 a game, and they have got a defender who's got a long throw. So that's something to look out for. But I'm conscious of time, so let's move on to the screenshots. These are all from the Rotherham game. And this is the first goal, so it should be on the screen around about now. It's a 2v2 for Rotherham and Shrewsbury if they lose the ball. And if Rotherham lose the ball, sorry. And they do, because the defender's just trying to shield it out of play. And he goes down easily, looking for the foul, and the ref doesn't give it, to be fair. And it ends up like this, as you can see on the screen now, which is screenshot 2. And he's literally in. And to be honest, don't quite know how he's missed, but it ends up in this situation, which is screenshot 3. And somehow that bloke scores. I don't really know how. It looks like a great goal, but I'm not sure he's meant it, to be honest. So yeah, on the transition, that was. And we'll look at the second goal now. Number 14 for Shrewsbury is the man you want to watch here. He's already making the run in behind. And the bloke who's going to pass it to him hasn't even got the ball yet. So yeah, he's made that run, and it ends up like this, the next screenshot. And literally everybody on the pitch is trying to catch him. Sorry, I don't know why my voice is starting to go. But yeah, he's literally ahead of everyone on the pitch, and he can do absolutely anything he wants. And he puts in this great ball along the corridor of uncertainty. What a football term for you. But yeah, and his teammate has an easy tap in. So one thing, number 14, I can't remember his name, he's going to be the danger man. And 2, they are blooming good at counter-attacking, which isn't exactly ideal because of how many times Crawley hit you on the break last game, is it? And they literally scored the same goal twice, Crawley. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is they are going to hit you on the break and they are going to park the bus. So it's going to be a weird game to watch, I'd say. And this is not a Statman guarantee because I tend to jinx things. But I reckon there will be some serious goals in this game, just like the Crawley game. But I will let you enjoy the rest of the podcast, and I'm sure I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
Guaranteed.
Interesting. Yeah. One of the takeaways for me on that was the fact that they scored quite a lot of counter-attack goals, and we conceded 3 the other day. But maybe that was a bit of a blessing in disguise, because I think that, I mean, rightly or wrongly, a Gareth Ainsworth side for me on paper would be more of a threat than Crawley Town. So maybe we'll learn from our mistakes, and we've got a week to kind of rectify them issues, possibly. Am I clutching at straws, maybe?
You mentioned Gareth Ainsworth then, Colin?
I did.
As you know, I'm a man with a picture for every occasion.
Oh, for God's sake. Why have you got a picture?
Me and the G-man there. It was interesting to hear about Callum's corridor. What did he call it? The corridor
of uncertainty.
Sorry, it's my.
Have you got a backstory on that picture, Chris, to share with the
I was going to say, Chris, when did you meet him? Where did you meet him? Talk to us.
Was coming back from MK Dons. It was at Norton Kane Services, and the Wickham team had pulled in. Yeah, he's a lovely fella. Had a nice chat whilst I was waiting for my coffee. I
must admit, I'm a fan of the quirkiness of him.
You know what?
I don't know what it is.
What's interesting is I've always accused Everett of being outcoached. So Steve Evans, Gareth Ainsworth, you know, your real kind of like EFL gaffers. You know what I mean? It'd be interesting to see how Schumacher contends with him in terms of from a coaching perspective, because you know he's gone in there, he's turned it around, and he does the job, the fella. So I'll be interested to see how Schumacher combats him. So
I think it wouldn't surprise me if we went back to a back five against these.
Yeah.
Because I think I've not watched a lot of Shrewsbury, but I would presume that there's an element of directness to their play.
I don't think we're going to fix on any set formation. I think even in his post-match yesterday, the reason why he went with two high fullbacks was to combat their attacking and go man for man against them. So it's exciting to hear stuff like that as well in a post-match, because the research has been done, and from what I'm led to believe, the intricate detail he goes into pre-match in the training in terms of what he drills into the players based on the opponent is second to none compared to his predecessor. So hopefully, you know, the homework's been done. And, you know, it's just that we said it with Everett, didn't we, that he needed a top-class coach alongside him. And I think that was part of his downfall. And the first thing that Schumacher's done is brought in not only Mark Hughes, but this lad, I can't remember, what's his name? The lad who was at Luton. And he's never worked with him before, but he just knew that he needed somebody top-class around him. He was coaching in the Premier League 12 months ago. So hopefully we start to see.
You know what's interesting there is I was in Glasgow last week with work, and I got chatting to a cabbie who was a Celtic fan. Well, this is obviously 50-50 split. And he was speaking about Wanderers, and obviously he migrated over to Neil Lennon. Of course he would, you know. And he mentioned his tenure with us. And he mentioned his, I can't remember his name. You guys will probably know him, especially people in the chat. The guy with the blonde hair, is it Molby or something like that?
Yeah.
And he mentioned him as his kind of like sidekick and a couple of others. And it twigged in my mind. It made me remember of when he left. It kind of fell to pieces for Lennon, didn't it? If you remember back then. So it just, what I'm trying to get at is it goes to show the importance of a really good number two. And I guess what you're saying, Dan, about Everett, you're absolutely right. You know, in terms of that was one of the biggest downfalls, wasn't it?
When Sam Hurd left, it's no coincidence, was it, that we started to fall apart at the turn of 2024? But you can even go bigger than that. Look at Ferguson at United when he didn't have a number two alongside him that knew what he was doing. They didn't really win anything, did he? When he lost Brian Kidd, and then Steve McLaren, Carlos Queiroz, and Mike Phelan. If you probably look, I mean, I don't care about United enough to look into it, but if you look at the years where he didn't have an assistant, I'd be interested to see what they didn't win, because again, it's testament, and you need to have a good team around you. And to bring this lad in, I still can't remember his name. If anyone knows, put it in the chat. But this guy from Luton, pardon my ignorance, it's absolutely superb that we can have someone like that in our ranks, especially at League One level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the adaptability of a manager in game, whether it be once, twice, or three times in a game, is what I come to expect of a Bolton Wanderers manager. And that is why, for me, the issue has been for however many months under Ian Everett that he just didn't do it, and you didn't see enough of it. And he was ignorant in many respects to the opposition. There's a bit of an elephant in the room. For those listening on audio, it's probably not much of an observation, but certainly people who are watching live, Chris has had a Bolton Wanderers 2024-2025 goalkeeping top on. And Russell then asked the question, Chris, where did you get your Baxter shirt from? Care to elaborate, Mr. Dawson?
From the man himself. It was largely thanks to loads of other Bolton fans who tagged me and blah, blah, blah. There was a Yule Sport, the people who make Nathan Baxter's gloves. And, but his signed shirt and a pair of his signed gloves. Match worn, I hasten to add. So they do stink. Absolutely stink. And they're covered in grass and all sorts. But no.
Hopefully only grass and sweat and not anything
urine.
else after last week.
No. Silly sausage.
I have a question for Chris, actually.
Who, me?
Was that hoodie predetermined before we all sat here in black, before you got changed? Did you do it just to make sure we all...
No, it wasn't. No, I just didn't get the memo again. So, yeah. Weird, isn't it?
It's like a uniform.
Although in a few weeks we'll all be wearing different
uniform.
We'll all be wearing different colours in a couple of weeks, won't we?
We might be. We'll leave it at that.
All will be revealed.
Seemingly, Peter Parker's Pizza Face has got a pair of Danny Shittu's match-worn boxer shorts, complete with skid marks.
What more?
Beat that. Can't beat that.
Can't beat that.
Can't beat that.
Richie Kyle is the assistant head coach.
There we go.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Ex-Everton, isn't he?
Yes, that's been cleared up. Let's have a look at the old posts on socials there. Why not?
Go on, then.
A heavy focus on yesterday's game against Crawley, with a massive focus, should I say, on that time-wasting pillock of a goalkeeper. A short story by Everything Bolton Wanderers, aka at BWFC fans. Absolutely nailed it with that. I'm a massive fan of that post. Also a massive fan of Lofty getting a bit of cramp like the goalkeeper did.
Love Lofty.
Love Lofty. That's like old school Lofty, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love him.
We need to see more of that. Like, where he kind of gets on the pitch a little bit as well, you know what I mean? Over the advertising hoardings, that type of level of Lofty. I don't know. What does everybody think?
No, I agree.
But do you remember when they made him change his shirt because he might be mistaken for a player?
Yeah. 7 foot.
That's relatively recently, that as well, isn't it? Like,
I think it was last season.
Frightening.
Oh my lord. That's the other thing about referees at this level, that their eyesight's that bad, they think a 7.5 foot lion looks like a footballer.
Didn't somebody throw a pie at that goalkeeper?
Hopefully.
I believe so.
It was allegedly
There was rumours it was a biscuit, but then I think it was actually a pie. I mean, you've got money to burn if you're throwing them pies.
Yeah.
And
also, just to add to that, the pies at the ground often are hard enough on the crust.
Yeah, do some damage.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I said. Is that why he's holding his head?
Crust
has caught him.
Speaking of Lofty, Geth ghosted him, didn't he, on the celebration?
Yeah.
Oh, poor Lofty.
We are waiting for a full written apology, Mr. Jones.
Left him hanging.
Yeah,
Left him hanging.
Can't leave Lofty hanging. Never, ever. It's a cardinal sin, young man.
Sacrilege, Chris.
Indeed, terrible.
Indeed, it
terrible,
is.
Man. Great goal.
Dion's doing well at Huddersfield, isn't he?
Oh, Colin, come on.
Can't hit a barn door, lad. What's going on there? To be fair, I know obviously that it's been pointed out by Roscoe_1990. I thought it came at him pretty quick. That, to be fair, to adjust to put that in, I think that's a bit harsh. Calling him out on that, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know what anybody else thinks. Dan, what do you reckon? Do you reckon people being a bit harsh on him with that, or what?
you don't turn into a bad player overnight, do you? Let's be honest. And yeah, he doesn't play for us anymore. And I know everybody who leaves the club are dead to you, but I think we've got to give him time, haven't we? I mean, we can't exactly speak because we've got Adebayo up front. So let's just I'd swap him in a heartbeat for Dion Charles back. So let's give Dion credit for what he did for us.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
been on his
still fair enough.
But yeah, it's funny. Speaking of funny, John McAtee commented on, or liked, should I say, on somebody's post about sticking on the Mickey Mouse Disney SHAGGERS on Tuesday. He's a big fan of beating Wrexham, but clearly not a big fan of the documentary. I don't know whether anybody saw that. Listen, I think with John McAtee, he's not really, I don't think, got off to the best starts in his Wanderers career. But one thing is clear, that he gives a...
he does. He really does.
Passionate. I love the fact that whenever we score and we're behind, he's always getting that ball and then raising his arm to get the crowd going. I think being a born and bred Boltonian as well, I think he really does care. And I think sometimes he could be trying too hard. It just needs to fall for him, doesn't it? I mean, he's don't know how many goals he's got, but he's
playing everywhere and all. He's played as a bloody striker yesterday. It's like...
Yeah. What I did notice as well, after the game, Schumacher, beelined a little bit for him as well. So, I think he might, try and really concentrate on him, and try and mould him into what he thinks he kind of should be. Because, like you've just said, Andy, he's played everywhere, hasn't he? Practically everywhere but in there.
Yeah.
He's a really, really big player for us. And for me, I'd have him in behind. I'd drop that powder puff that we've just signed from Peterborough and have him playing in number 10. Again, played yesterday. Certainly not convinced on Joel Randall. Absolute.
I'm the complete opposite. I'm the complete opposite when it comes to him.
Awful.
It's mad, isn't it, how we generally, Dan, me and you see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. But I am the complete opposite side of the spectrum when it comes to that kid compared to you.
Was it second or third goal? He just let their midfielder skip straight past him and they scored from it. But he's just too lightweight. All right, again, I can't be a hypocrite. We've just said we need to give Dion Charles time at Huddersfield. He's just settling into a new club. We've got to do the same with Randall, but 6 or 7 appearances now, he's not done anything to convince me that price tag. And I'll happily be proven wrong come the end of the season. Happily.
I think
but
so far, certainly absolutely nothing. He, for me, the opposite side of the argument is he's just a couple of steps ahead of everybody else in our team up here. He's making movements. He's looking to make passes. He's turning into space where people should be and they're not there. He's having to go backwards. He's playing short passes because they're not where he expects them to be. Up here, he's a little bit ahead of the players around him. Give or take 1 or 2. That's my opinion on him. But again, it's football, innit? Everyone's got their own opinions on the matter. We could argue it if you wanted. I don't mind. But we've got a fan focus to deliver, haven't we, Mr. Dawson?
Yeah, we have, Mr. Yates, indeed. Let's have it.
Let's get into it.
Right. Tricky one this week because everybody just seems to be getting really giddy about yesterday and just making comments on how good it was. You know what? Don't mind that. So I'm going to start with one of them. I'm going to go with Lou. And Lou says, the attack chant gave me goosebumps. Honestly, it's mad. Not heard that for a long, long time. Shades of Forest. A few people have mentioned yesterday's game in the same breath as the Forest game. Obviously, it doesn't have the importance, but in terms of the outcome and the way it panned out, everyone in that crowd were completely...
It could though, Chris. It could have the same importance if it is the turning point of the season. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I might be selling it short, but it was... Everyone in that crowd were completely behind those players and manager yesterday. What a difference a few weeks makes. I wholeheartedly agree. I'm not sure if anybody else watches it, but on a Sunday morning, there's a YouTube vlog from a guy called Ben's Football Vlogs. I've noticed he gets a lot of his stuff reposted. He's a young kid and he does a cracking job with his videos. So I'm giving him a little bit of a mention and a plug there. But he is in the West lower, and when we scored that goal, when Guest scored that goal yesterday, wow, the scenes in the East lower, in the family stand, it was such a difference. The ground was fuller, people were behind them, as Lou said, and the outpouring of emotion when that fourth went in was unbelievable.
I was honestly, I met my missus came to the match yesterday, and my little boy, he's not even 4. He lasted about an hour, and then he went on to Middlebrook. Ironically, we were 3-1 down when they left, so they missed it all. But I met her in TJI's after the game for a bit of food, and I was knackered. I sat down in them booths, and I was just like, oh wow. But that's why we go, innit? Them moments are why we go to the football matches.
Yeah, it was only a couple of weeks ago that we're, politely applauding last-minute equalisers and stuff like that, and it makes a hell of a difference. There was obviously a big part of yesterday was the gamesmanship, should we call it? Let's remain professional, by Crawley Town Football Club. MB, Michael, friend of the show, time wasting is a major plague in football nowadays. For me, any player who goes down injured, inverted commas, should have to leave the field for the time they are treated on the pitch or subbed off straight away. It's slowly killing the sport. It's anti-football, boring and pathetic. Thoughts? I think this topic would be different, a lot different, if that referee yesterday hadn't done the right thing, which was to add 12 minutes onto the end of the game. It would have, because in the first half it was going on then, and they added in 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So it started at the World Cup, didn't it? Where they started to bring in 8, 9, 10 minutes, and they did it. It was at the start of last season. They brought it in.
Then it stopped.
I don't know why they don't just stop the clock like in rugby. Just stop the clock.
Chris has just said the same thing, Ange.
They should. Sorry, I'm not copying.
No, but it's right. It is right. I don't even like rugby league. I don't watch it, but it's exactly right. It's, it's time.
Ball's not in play. The clock is stopped.
What's the reason why? They don't do that? There must be a reason why.
I've done a bit of reading up on that, and I think different levels of the game, League 2 right the way through to Premier League, they are saying that it's out of play a lot more lower league, because obviously there's throw-ins and goal kicks and all that sort of stuff, and that if they did it, there's no real consistency throughout the game. Like in terms of League 1 and 2, we could potentially be sat there for 3 hours. Whereas
like in the Super Bowl.
But they soon stopped wasting time if they knew they were, because they were dead on the feet, them lads, yesterday. I know they went down to 10 men, Crawley, but they'd have been dead on the feet anyway. If you're playing on and grinding them down for if the clock is stopped, they'll soon stop doing it.
Yeah, but it's not just that though, is it? It's goal kicks, throw-ins, because ability-wise, I'm not being derogatory to lower league players, but to keep it in play for a considerable period of time, if you're stopping it every time it goes out for a throw-in and a goal kick and a corner or a free kick.
Well, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it for everything, do you? But there's instances where absolutely, if a player's down, just stop the clock.
It's categories, isn't it? It needs to be put.
Yeah, and then what happened to the whole goalkeeper thing as well? They were really enforcing that, weren't they, when they first brought it in? And then now that seems to have just
Was there only one keeper punished by it when the rule came in? Only one keeper ever got punished by it, weren't they? Was it Jaskalainen against Newcastle?
No, that was the 7 seconds held onto the ball rule.
That's it. That's it. Where they've got hold of it like that.
I was at that match at St James's Park. Yeah, I was at that game.
But it's consistency again, isn't it? Like I did, although I don't feel sorry for Crawley at all. It was a little bit of shithousery they were doing, and obviously they're away at Bolton, so they're winning 3-1, 3-2. They're going to do whatever they possibly can to hold on to that result.
And I agree with that.
But for their manager to say after the game that when the 12 minutes went up, you're almost stunned because it doesn't happen every week anymore.
No.
I was actually like,
So
that's the key. The key word we're looking for here then is consistency, innit?
It's
With the referees.
consistency.
That's what it boils down to. Doesn't
Yeah.
it?
I just wish that we were a bit more like that. I just wish we had a bit more shithousery about us, and
a lot of it,
the time wasted and a bit of that, because it's part and parcel now. Other teams do it, so why shouldn't we?
A lot of it's come from, especially the goalkeepers, has come off the back of the podcast with David Stockdale. Is it David Stockdale? He's called Stockdale. He used to be Wycombe's goalkeeper. He went on to Sheffield Wednesday, and he mentioned it in a podcast where, ironically, it was when Wycombe were playing Bolton, and he feigned an injury to go down to stop the momentum of Bolton's momentum. They were holding on to a lead, and it was to take the sting out of the game because we were getting on the front foot. We've done it. Nathan Baxter does it. You've seen him do it a few times this season when he played. And a lot of goalkeepers do it. That, for me, is the biggest one. Because, obviously, if they're treated, they can't go off the pitch. Agreed. So what do? So do you say, right, okay, if it happens to your goalkeeper and he's treated on the pitch, obviously you can't go off. So your captain has to go off. Or a nominated player has to go off for the same period of time, it's 30 seconds, isn't it? But that for me, and obviously making a mockery out of head injury protocols is disgusting. When you get players who swallow the tongues, who suffer serious facial injuries and genuine head injuries, if you've got players going down doing that, and it isn't a genuine head injury, I think that's disgusting. Personally,
yeah, it's not ideal, that is it? Because it's, we're in danger of the boy you cry wolf type of situation as well,
Correct.
Aren't we? That's the problem.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So it needs to stop, and players need to face some form of punishment.
I just don't see how they can manage it though. That's the thing.
I
don't see how they can.
Well, with a concussion injury, they're assessed after the game,
right?
And then if it's identified as a concussion injury, there's an obligatory 1 game break that they have to take. They have to miss the subsequent game as part of the protocol around concussion. So if it's identified by a medical professional and it's not the case, what do? You know what I mean? It is you're right. It is difficult to manage.
They do it in game in rugby. They do a 10-minute head injury assessment, and they're either fit or they're not.
I think it comes down to you can give the referee this discretion, like yesterday. The prime example of yesterday, where the referee was stopping the clock for moments that he felt was time wasting, and every time their play went down, you saw him do this. Every single time. So if every referee was told to do that, and act that way and add the minutes on, then that would stamp it out. Because whether you go down for a head injury, whether you go down for cramp, whatever, and the referee's doing this,
sorry, about to Nathan Baxter again. Right, yeah.
If you know, when the referee's doing this, and that could be the signal, I've stopped the clock.
Yeah.
So there's no
what I like as well, Dan, is the fact that he allowed that free kick to be taken for Alex Murphy's goal.
Yeah.
And he pointed to places where the same player had done the same thing prior to that incident, and obviously identified the fact that he was feigning injury and was continuing to do so throughout the game. It was pathetic. It was embarrassing to watch at times. Yeah. And the ironic thing is, and Cole, you're right in what you're saying, Crawley are languishing at the bottom of League One, and to get a point away at Bolton or 3 points away at Bolton is a phenomenal outcome for them. It's a massive, massive result. If they carried on playing as they were, they probably would have gone and won that game.
Yeah, it's ironic, isn't it? Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they didn't play some bad football. Let's get it right. They played some decent football. They took the goals well, and obviously the 12 minutes wouldn't have been added on, so they would have likely got a result out of it. So it's a double-edged sword, isn't it, in that respect? So credit has to go to the referee yesterday in that respect, because he dealt with it very, very well, and most wouldn't do what he did. So fair play to him.
There's a lot of referees that can learn a lot from that yesterday, and even those down at Stockley Park, and they can almost implement half of what he did yesterday, if not all of it. And all it takes is that signal.
You know what? Sorry, Dan. Sorry to interrupt you, Dan. You know what would be really, really, really interesting? If hypothetically, when they go to Stockley Park or wherever the referees are trained on, or wherever they meet on Monday or Tuesday for a debrief after the weekend's games, and what you're saying is right, like a lot of referees can learn from that management of that game, because that's what it was. It was management of the game from the referee. Would it be really interesting if somehow we got like an understanding of what was discussed at that meeting, where they said, like, Joe Blogg's the referee at Bolton against Crawley. This is the situation. This is where we managed it. This is what we did, and show us or allow us to understand what are they doing to improve the overall performance of all the referees across the divisions. I mean, it'll never happen, but I don't know, like the minutes from the meeting or whatever it might be, to allow us to understand how they look. The transparency and how they're actually improving, because it feels like they're not improving, doesn't it?
No. Yeah, but it's weather as well. Let's not forget we're just one game in League One, aren't we? So it's only big to us because we're Bolton Wanderers fans. But when they go to Stockley Park, if they do, or they have the debriefs or whatever, our game means nothing to the bigger picture. If that had happened in an FA Cup game or a Premier League game or whatever, then it'd have had more scrutiny on it.
It doesn't, but it will do to the referees, because because it goes on across the country, doesn't it? At every level, obviously less so in the Premier League, but certainly in the EFL. They want to improve the game. That scenario, the referee managed it, is just as important to the referees across the board as it is if the referee in the Burnley Leeds game in the Championship.
I agree, though. I agree, but what my point is, how many referees and how many people, other than people that were Bolton or Crawley fans, would have known what happened yesterday at Bolton Crawley?
Well, that's part of the problem, though, isn't it? That's part of the problem, though, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's because it's out League One, League Two, especially in today's day and age. Outside the Premier League, no one really cares, do they? Do you know what I mean? Which is wrong. But if that had happened on TV or in the Premier League or whatever, then it'd have been highlighted a lot more. There's a joke flying around today that Liverpool have requested to replay their FA Cup game because one of the Plymouth guys wasn't Corgi registered. It's just, they're implying that the Championship downwards is meaningless and we're just part-time and we're plumbers during the week, when in theory, there's 92 clubs in the football.
Speaking of that Plymouth and Liverpool game, just quickly, I know completely off topic, but I know because we're going over this particular segment, there was a lot of arrogance, that team selection from Liverpool, weren't there, against Plymouth? Like, when I saw that team that they picked, I thought, ooh, they don't. I know they've got a lot of games to play, and they've got Everton in the midweek, but there's an arrogance to that team selection, playing all them kids, and because Home Park's a difficult place to go, don't we? As we know more than
when they
anyone.
made the substitutions, they took off kids to bring on kids, didn't they? You bring on.
They only had two first teamers on the bench, didn't they? They were all kids on the bench.
They deserved it, didn't they? Really, fair play to Plymouth.
Absolutely.
We're talking about referees. It just so happens, right? I've got a picture of it.
Of you with the referee from yesterday.
He has as well, yeah.
There's me and Bobby Madley. No, he didn't
I went
do
to
any
uni
good
with
job.
Bobby. Me and Bobby were on the same. Me and Bobby were on the same.
There you go.
Huddersfield Uni is a big Huddersfield Town fan.
Yeah,
I'm surprised I've got a picture of him next to your dog behind you, Dan.
Allegedly.
Picture for every occasion. Well, there you go. As I say, a lot of it has been made up of just people being excited by the whole comeback yesterday, Schumacher's impact on the game. So thank you all for that. It was phenomenal yesterday. So that concludes another week of Fan Focus.
Well, we've just hit the hour mark. I'm gonna get in a little bit of trouble from HR, but probably not, because it's definitely relevant what I'm going to do. So we, and I'm not including myself in this, are doing the sleepout this year again. Woo! And this is what it looks like.
Me.
Take it away, Dan.
Yeah, so on Friday, the 21st of March, 2025, Angela, Ben, Chris, and myself, ABCD, will be representing the Fanzone podcast alongside some of our friends of the show, Laura and Andy Withall, Alex Murphy and Grace Bowker, Jordan. But who's next to join us? We want you to join us on the night of Friday, the 21st of March, to come and take part in the sleepout, where we'll be raising money for Bolton Wanderers in the community. And if you do listen to Bolton FM or watch iFollow, there is an advert for the people that we'll be raising money for as well. No, not Sock Shop, but Urban Outreach, which is a charity that raises money and provides food for households in crisis. So we do have a link that's been posted today on all our socials. Please, if you're not wanting to take part and come and support us, please click the link and sponsor us. I know we've had a couple of sponsors already. Thanks very much to Chris, our sponsor at Eco1 Windows, for being the first.
Legend.
But we're trying to top last year's total. It's all for a worthwhile cause, and staying overnight at the Fortress Reebok sounds great, but if it's hailing and snowing and raining and windy and everything else, it's going to be...
Listen, I did it last year. I can't do it this year, but I did it last year.
I can't go. I can't go.
I'm going away.
Yeah, I bet you are.
I bet you are.
Yeah.
Left the weekend.
You know what,
Colin doesn't think I'm going to do it, so...
Oh, you will do it.
Definitely doing it.
He's doing it.
No, listen, right. What I will say is it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience. That might sound like a stupid thing to say, but it makes you realise how damn lucky you are to have a warm home. So I would encourage anybody who fancies it to give it a go. And if you can't, for whatever reason, please donate. Sorry, Dan, go on.
And I do think as well, it's going to be slightly easier than it was last year because we don't have to endure Colin overnight.
There you go.
That helps me sleep.
Jake and Alex will do some sparring with us.
It's not Alex Murphy. It's not the left back.
No, it's the boxer.
No, not that one. The other one, friend of the show.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Well, my lad Jake is a boxer and has had a few one-to-ones with Alex, and I've tried to get Jake involved. He keeps SH1T'ing out, but I think he needs to do it and get involved.
To be honest with you. Yeah, he can't do it. Yeah, I can say that.
He's out in Bolton every Saturday. He's got a fake ID, so he's 18 when he wants to.
We are not that podcast. Let's move on. Please do donate.
We don't break the law.
We don't break the law. We're not that podcast. We don't even swear on this podcast, damn. So never mind promoting things like that.
Do we?
Don't talk shite. Anyway, thank you very much for that.
You need to get your hands in your pockets, though. You need to donate. Not a penny goes to us. It all goes to all these charitable causes, which are for the homeless of Bolton. So you need to dig deep, people.
So have you noticed that all night people have not stopped talking? All night the chat's been going up and down, up and down, up and down. The moment we start talking about people dipping into the pockets, it's going to be quiet.
They're all very quiet.
They're all on the link donating, that's why. They can't type it.
They're too busy on the link. Yeah, I think the only place we've not shared the link is Twitter, X. The rest of the platforms I think Ben shared it on, but it'll be coming later, I think, the link on X.
There's a bit of a teaser trailer on the sleep out. We will be donning our new Fanzone podcast merch.
Unreal.
Which caused a few arguments, shall we say.
Right, anyway, we're well over now, isn't
The guy who talk about it again.
Never.
This would be a podcast behind the paywall, I think, at one time. Massive thank you to the 235 people who have watched tonight's episode. You superstars. Thank you very much for your contribution in the chats. Everybody, every single person, including, of course, all of the great channel members that we have. A special thank you, of course, to Eco1 Windows, our principal headline sponsor, who do a wonderful job in contributing to our podcast. If you're going to Wrexham on Tuesday night for the Pizza Car Trophy, be good. Look after yourselves.
Safe travels.
Safe travels. I want to go to Wembley again, of course I do, but if we lose, it won't be the worst thing in the world, in my opinion, but that's just mine. But yeah, safe travels to everybody going over there. And
Absolutely.
Hang on. Before we go, can I just give a shout out to Brendan, who's just donated £20 on our link?
Thank you.
We've hit £95 so far of our target of 1,000. Well, 1,000 is minimal. Let's absolutely smash through that.
Yeah, we had the target of £1,000 last year. We did 1,650 quid. So we want to be doing more.
And none of it goes to us. Not a single penny goes to us. It all goes to the homeless charity.
If we raise $2,000, Ben Timberlake said he'll shave his head.
Did he say that?
No, but he will do.
It will do it. I'll
take. We could do an AI thing to make him sound like he said it.
We'll just pin him down and do it.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Ben currently wears a headband. So if ever you want a reason for him not to use a headband, is to donate, and then
it's
free your
headband.
It looks like when you've ordered Jack Grealish off Temu.
Yes. Anyway, on that bombshell, have a lovely evening. Thank you very much for listening. You're all superstars, and we'll see you on the next one.